Hey guys, what's going on? InsidiousSwede back again here for another YouTube video, and today we're diving into episode 2 of my Ask Swede podcast. Now, it seemed like a lot of you really enjoyed this idea, which is awesome. I'm always, interested to get your feedback on if this is something you're going to be interested in or not, and for the most part, it seemed like you guys were. The whole intention behind this video series is really because if you look at my channel history, I've never done a video Q&A. And so I thought of this idea as kind of like a substitute for that. Instead of just answering like a bajillion questions in one video, I figure every once in a while I'll sit down and I'll do, in-depth answers to different questions you guys have about either myself, my collecting, or the manga industry in general, and we'll do it that way. So considering I made it a bit confusing as well on where I wanted you to leave the comments, as you guys might have saw, I posted a community post asking for you guys to leave your comments there. But from here on out, all of the questions I'll be getting for these episodes will be from the previous episodes. So all of episode 3's questions will be chosen from the episode 2 comment section. So hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, let's get into some of the questions, shall we? So let's see here. First question, in no particular order, I'm just going to look at the comments and see which one sparks my interest. First one here from Warp Turtle. They ask, what do you do when you find yourself becoming less interested or just feeling fatigued from reading and watching so much? This is an interesting question. I've had a lot of people ask me about, what do I do when I get fatigued from manga? Because let's be honest, it happens to all of us. It happens to me. It was happening to me just a couple months ago. What I tend to do, and I try not to fight through it. I think some people were like, I'm kind of sick of this, but maybe if I just keep on reading, I'll just kind of, break through that and I'll continue on and I'll really, get back into the groove of things. What I've kind of done whenever I get sick of, say, watching anime or reading manga is I just, set it aside. I just forget about it. I don't worry about it and I just move on. It's a bit different for me because I have a YouTube channel, so I'm always trying to think of stuff to do and manga to read and stuff like that. But I do try whenever I'm just sick and I do not want to read any manga, I just do something else. When I have free time, I just forget about manga. I mean, it may seem like a simple thing, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes you kind of identify as a manga reader, as I do, and you feel like it has to be something you're doing constantly. There's not really any secret formula to getting over that, Warp Turtle. I would just be honest and say sometimes you need to take a break, take a step back. As with anything, you get fatigued and you just need to, set it down and move on from it. And maybe you'll go back to it and maybe you won't. Maybe it's just like, maybe manga's not for me, but I imagine that's not, the situation here. So I would just say, forget about it, don't worry about it, and come back to it naturally, meaning, like, don't force yourself, even like, oh, it's been a week, I should probably read something, or I've been trying to read like a volume a day, but, I don't really want to do anything today. I would just say, don't worry about it, and then whenever it feels natural, just go back to reading manga. That's what I do. I just get sick of it, and then, let's say a couple weeks go by, and all of a sudden I'm reinvigorated or inspired to get into a new series or continue with old ones. And it also helps, for me at least, getting new manga, checking out new stories. That always keeps the, interest fresh for me. And, yeah, that's really all I can recommend. As for anime, I don't think I watch enough anime to get sick of it. I mean, you guys would be surprised with how little anime I probably watch, or how much you probably think I watch. I only do it occasionally. Like, for me, if I have the option, if there's both a manga and an anime, I am never going to choose the anime over the manga unless the manga is just not clicking with me. And I've heard incredible things about the anime. This is exactly what happened with me in Hunter x Hunter, is that I did not like the manga at all, and I still stand by that. There's just so many things about the manga that turn me off, and if you like it, if you enjoy it, if you think it's the best manga ever, more power to you. But for me, it's just, it felt like it was lacking atmosphere, and it's because of the detail that was put into the artwork. It just wasn't there. I didn't feel like a world. It just felt like, some characters drawn in this, meaningless environment. But the anime really captured the spirit of the characters, the world setting, which is for me a big part of why I think Hunter x Hunter is so great. And really that's why. I mean, so I don't watch much anime, or I should rephrase, I don't choose much anime over manga, so when I do, it's very rare, like Hunter x Hunter, but more than that, usually never. A couple others I watch are like Haikyuu, Yowamushi Pedal. I'm not really watching anything currently either, so it's really weird. I'm just not really that into it. When I'm watching TV, it's usually regular television series, not really anime related. Or if I'm watching TV at all, it's actually one of two things. It's either television shows or sports. And if I'm not watching TV, I'm usually reading manga or doing homework, hanging out, other stuff besides that. So I'm not really setting aside any time to watch anime. So for me, I don't really ever get burnt out on watching anime, but manga all the time because I read so much. So hopefully that answers your question, Warp Turtle. I'm not entirely sure, but that's my answer to your question. Okay, let's continue down on these questions. Let's see here. Here we go. Here's Nithax MC. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. They ask, what do your parents, friends, and so on think of your collection at this point? Great question. And actually, I just got a question today, or a comment on one of my other videos, that a lot of people were talking about it, and I never responded, but he was talking about how he's worried about what other people are going to think of him with his manga collection. And, it may seem a little ridiculous, but I totally get it. It's a very, very valid concern because it's definitely different. It definitely carries a stereotype. And this is a trick that I've learned. Maybe not the best way to handle a situation like this, but it's one that I've gone with since I started collecting manga. For one, my family, they don't care. They love me. They don't care what I'm, getting into. I mean, hell, they'd rather me being, addicted to collecting manga than half the shit other kids are doing my age. So it's really not that big of a deal. And as long as they understand I can afford it and I'm handling my, money well, they're not really too worried about it at all. Friends, however, was a little bit different. And this is not my secret, but for longtime friends, they don't care. They know me well enough to know, whatever stereotype or stigma that's attached to collecting manga and watching anime. It's not really existent for somebody who already knows me because it's just a ridiculous notion when you already know the person. But for new friends that I've made since I've started collecting manga, this is my secret. I don't tell them. Not forever or indefinitely, but it's not like I don't want my collecting or my collection to define who I am. I don't want to be, InsidiousSwede is the guy with the manga collection. Now, of course, I'm like that online, but in real life, I don't want to be defined by my hobby of collecting manga. And granted, I think when people see the size of my collection, and this is also something I've wanted to talk about before, when people see the size of my collection, they assume that my entire life revolves around manga because I just have so much of it, when that really couldn't be further from the truth. For me, manga is a hobby. I love reading manga, I love collecting manga, but it doesn't define who I am. It doesn't define what I do every single second of every single day. My collecting is simply something that I enjoy doing. It's not who I am. So when I, make a friend, it's not like, oh, hey, this is my name, and oh, by the way, I collect a shit ton of manga. Here's my YouTube channel. I got 2,000 volumes. It's no, I get to know them, and then at some point when it's natural, I just go, oh, hey, by the way, have you heard of manga? Have you heard of anime? Well, guess what? I collected and read that. It's very, and I do it in a natural way, not so corny like that. And it helps the whole thing because there's no longer like, oh, he's just that kid, or there's a stigma. It's because they already know me. They know, oh, that's not really a fair stereotype when I've already known the person. So that would be my advice. If you're really, really worried about what people think of your collecting, then one, they're probably not a good friend. If they're your family, I don't know what to tell you then. Your family should always support you. If anybody should give you support in this life, it should be your family. So I would just tell them why they're so negative or hostile towards manga and your collecting if there's something they're not telling you, or they just don't understand, which is one thing I've also seen. If you just try to explain to them what manga is, or even better, loan them a volume of a series you think they'd like. That's what I've done with a bunch of family. I tell them, well, you don't really know what manga is, so here's a volume, read it, and tell me what you think then. If it's still not your thing, that's fine, but at the very least, you'll have a better understanding of have a better appreciation, maybe, for what manga or anime is. That would be my advice. Friends, it's always better to not let your collecting define you. And with family, they really should be supporting you no matter what. But if they're having a hard time or just don't understand, then by all means, help them understand. Not everybody is going to like what everybody else does. And I'm sure there's other, in your family, there's things people do that you don't understand or don't like. But at least respect that the same way that you would want them to respect you in your collecting. So that would be my advice for that. I don't really know what else I can add. So hopefully, Nithax MC, I answered your question. And let's do one more now. Again, I don't want to make these videos much more than, 10-15 minutes. So I'll do one more question here. Let's see what we have. Oh, here's a good one. Here's the one that what a lot of people want me to answer. Hampus Johansson, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. They ask, how did you come up with your name? I've answered this before, but it seems like a lot of people still don't know the origin of InsidiousSwede. I promise it's not fancy, but what happened was, I guess now, it was way back when Insidious was still a fairly new movie. I mean, it wasn't brand new, but it was still a pretty relevant horror film. I was watching that on television one day, and it was during the time when I was sitting down trying to come up with my name. I had no idea what to name my channel, and I was trying to go through names in my head. I was looking online on name generators, trying to find something that sounded good, that rolled off the tongue, that sounded natural, but also it wasn't just mangaka guy 14 or something like that. I wanted it to be a little bit more of a username, of a name people can refer to you beyond just kind of something a little bit less simple, or I don't really know how to describe it. Anyways, to make a long story short, what I was doing is I was watching Insidious, the horror film, and I'm Swedish. Now, granted, I'm in America, I'm an American, I've lived here my entire life, but as we all know, unless you're Native American, you're not actually from this continent, and the majority of my family, especially on my mother's side, is all from Sweden. And I just was looking at the film, and I go, InsidiousSwede. And it rolled off the tongue, it sounded good, and when I looked up the definition for insidious to get a better understanding of the word, it was like cunning and stuff like that. I was like, oh, it sounds kind of better. It also is a pretty dark name, and I didn't really want it to come off that way, but it did, I guess, in some respect. Overall, I just liked how it sounded. I liked how the two words sounded together. And to be honest, I couldn't think of anything better. That's really what it came down to. It was like, either I'm InsidiousSwede or I'm going to sit here for another 3 hours trying to come up with a name that may not even be better. So, yeah, that's how it happened. Nothing fancy. I happened to be watching the horror film Insidious at the time of making this account. And I'm also Swedish, hence InsidiousSwede. So, yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening, I guess, this time around. Any and all suggestions to improve this further, definitely let me know. Also, let me know if you guys have any comments or questions you want me to answer in the next video. I'll try to do 3 to 5 every time, and we'll just go off of that for now and see how it goes from here on out. But yeah, guys, anyways, thank you so much for listening. But until next time, my name is InsidiousSwede. Take care.